Welcome, Alison. Hi, Marcella, Sonia, Kim, Brian, Sarah. Hi, Asa. Hello, Elizabeth. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know coming up to Christmas is a busy time for everybody, so it's wonderful to see so many friendly faces here today. I am super excited about my first Good Talks, and we've got a session for you today. I said yesterday actually that this is going to be the best hour you've ever spent without alcohol and with your clothes on. So no pressure, Pat, who I'm going to introduce shortly, but genuinely, I know you're going to get so much value out of this session because I have, and I would be doing people a disservice if I didn't share this wonderful person that is sitting opposite me, Pat Finn. So a little bit of introduction. I think I know everybody on the call, but if I don't, my name is Emma Goode. I'm the founder of digital marketing agency 24 Fingers, and I have the absolute pleasure of meeting wonderful people all over the globe and sharing them with my network. This is the first one. I hope to do one a month next year. We're getting everybody's dates in the diary for one a month. So I'm going to be sending you lots of invitations really to help you grow your business and help you really have that mindset to grow and scale and do all the wonderful things that us entrepreneurs want to be doing. I think everybody on the call today has got their own business or is thinking about starting a business. So I'm here to support you on that journey. It can be a lonely one. So if there is anything that anybody ever needs, please just shout. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Pat Finn. Pat Finn is the founder of Rubicon Results. I had the pleasure of meeting Pat, I think 3 months ago, and quite honestly, he has changed my life. And that's not an underestimate. That is, what's the word? That's not an underestimate. Well, how do you say it, Pat? Estimation. Yeah. I'm not blowing his trumpet for no good reason, and I know that you're going to discover that in today's session. Pat has coached over 50,000 people around the world, so he knows his stuff, and he's going to be sharing some really practical, actionable insights today for us. He is also a Emmy Award winner, and if you look him up on YouTube, I think there might be a national game show host in there somewhere, and he's just a wonderful human being, and I know he's really humble. So I'm gonna do his intro for you. I'm going to turn all my phones off, and I'm going to pass over to Pat for him to say hello.
All right. Well, thanks to Emma. I just appreciate you guys being here. As Emma said, it is a busy time of the year, but it's also the perfect time of the year to do something like this, because this is the time of the year that society and our history tells us to start to evaluate what the past year was like and start to set goals for the coming year. And what we get a chance to talk about today is how to effectively set goals. In fact, we don't even call them goals because for the most part, people associate setting goals or New Year's resolutions with never hitting them. So there's almost becomes a sense of why bother? My commitment out of this hour that we spent together here is that you see what's possible and that you really do want to bother. Like you really want to set these goals because it could make a huge difference for this coming year. So where would you like to start, Emma? Because I can, you know me, you could wind me up and I could just keep going.
We'll let you go. Well, I think you touched on a really interesting point. You know, it's 13th of December. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm sitting here thinking, what was my 2023 like? Did I hit all my targets? I tend to set quite big targets for myself. And it's really time for reflection. And I know there's some things, I'll be honest, I haven't achieved. There's some few kind of nitty gritty things that every year I've written the same things on my list. What advice would you give to somebody that's looking at that list and going, right, January the 1st, 2023, I said I would do X, Y, Z. It hasn't happened. How did you kind of cope with that without feeling crappy about yourself?
Well, that's a great place to start, because what I've discovered is that when you are operating on top of some past where you haven't forgiven yourself, where there's some upset, where there's some place you're making yourself wrong, for something this past year, it's not a very effective place to start. So the first thing I'll recommend is to get complete on the past year. And that is, make a list of those things that you might call as regrets or mistakes, or you didn't make happen that you intended to make happen, and to review the list and just realize, first of all, the fact that you're looking at the list and realizing that you're not happy with how that was, that's a sign that you've grown already. So you could look from the perspective of a mistake or regret you made. One of the things that we talk about in our Rubicon coaching is that regrets are the least effective of all emotions. Doesn't really provide anything for you. So what we say is, if you have a regret about something, look at it. If there's something to be cleaned up, like to communicate with somebody, do that. But otherwise, stand in the fact that if you can recognize it as a regret, you're not that same person anymore, and use it as a lesson. If you could actually say to yourself, that was perfect because I learned whatever the lesson is, or I learned I'm never going to do that again, or I've learned that, this year I'm not going to go there again and create something new. So you start with a blank slate in the first place. What I'm describing can be conceptual, or you guys could actually put it into practice. And in Rubicon, the thing that we talk about is you don't just learn it, you live it. That a lot of times we get things conceptually, like, oh, I fully understand that. But if it doesn't impact how we operate in life, if it doesn't shift how we see ourselves and actions that we're taking, then so what? It's just kind of, it's an insight that's entertaining, but it doesn't mean anything. And we're all about coming up with not only insights, but to actually have actions correlate to what it is you're now going to do and create. So that's my little gentle nudge to actually consider making that list for yourself of things that you either went for this past year and then didn't really feel like you fully played 100% to make it happen, or something that you actually did as a mistake that you might consider a regret. If you can get to the point where it's like you've forgiven yourself, give like you did before, forgive, and allow yourself to then be at this clean place to create this coming year, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about today, is how to create the most powerful year to come. So I'm not used to just going on and on. I'm used to people interacting with me. Can I just hear from one or two people? What's something that is in the category of what we just said, just so everybody's conscious of it. And I know Emma has a habit of just calling out on people. So you could first decide if you want to speak up yourself. Otherwise, Emma will reach out to people. But what's something in that category that if you think about it right now, it may give you a little angst or upset around it, but you're realizing that doesn't provide anything. So anybody want to share? Good place to start. Hey, let's start a seminar with a bunch of people that I don't know, and then share something that really was not great about my life this year.
Go for it, Elizabeth. Lovely to see you.
I'll share. I'm always gobby. Hello, Pat. Thank you so much today. My big regret is I have not made LinkedIn work with me.
Yeah.
Let alone for me, but with me.
And what's if it's a regret, what's missing? What was missing, the presence of which would have made a difference for you? Like, was it putting time into LinkedIn? Was it fully understanding how LinkedIn works? Is it adjusting your profile? Like, what would you say if you just had to make it up right now? What's the missing link for you around that?
I think I've spent too much time on it with very little back. So messaging, and I'm keep being told that I need to go with the professional platform. So it's that sort of that muddy area where I wouldn't be able to give you one thing.
Sure. Well, and part of this process is to really evaluate those things in the past that we thought would make a difference, sometimes don't. So it's a function of I've discovered that people many times will keep working at something, even if they stood aside and said, "Wait a minute, why am I putting so much energy in there when I could put the energy here, where it might produce a different result?" And Emma is the expert on this, but my experience is that Emma coaches me when it comes to social media, so I could be totally wrong about this. But I've kind of given up on LinkedIn because all I get are ads from other people trying to tell me how to increase my business. And there's very little, and I think everybody's getting a lot of that. So there's very little real business connections that are happening for me. But that's just me. Any comment on that, Emma?
Yeah, lots, but we've only got 50 minutes. I was going to invite you, Liz. At 5 o'clock, I'm doing a seminar actually on how to get more traction on social media. So I will send you the link just after this. But
very sweet. I'm sort of full of LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know. And we spoke about I know we've spoken about it in the past. I would say don't give up, but I think the key, and it's something I'm going to be sharing tonight, the key is make it authentic and know what you want to present and make it fun as well. Like social media is a tough place. So if it doesn't feel fun, if it doesn't feel authentic and it doesn't feel achievable, you're just going to stop. Do you know what I mean? Like I was talking to a woman yesterday who runs a brilliant business for luxury spa products for dogs. So it's all like shampoo and soaps for dogs. And she's like, "Oh, this geezer said to me, I've got to be posting 3 videos a day on TikTok." And she's like, "I can't do 1, let alone 3." And I know within a week, she will stop on that advice. She's finding it overwhelming. She's struggling. She's not getting the traction. And then it becomes this horrid vicious circle. Elizabeth, I love you. Let me give you a LinkedIn session, just me and you. I'll put the chat, I'll put the diary in thing, because I know we spoke about it last year and I don't want to be talking about it in 2024 with you. I really want you to be full of joy and feeling like you're progressing on LinkedIn, even if it is just this 1%. So I'll pop that into chat.
Great. Yeah, thanks for leading the way, Elizabeth. We're going to get into why would you bother with LinkedIn or Facebook or
That'll be a whole
Instagram.
nother webinar. Why bother?
why even bother? And it's really what I've discovered is that when there's a vision, in this case, we'll call them goals because we're dealing with goals or outcomes. But when there's an outcome that is so real to you, so exciting, so lights you up that it pulls you forth, that it actually starts to inspire you what actions to take. Sometimes you then discover the actions that I've been taking haven't made a big difference. So essentially what we're saying, and we're obviously, the Rubicon course is a 10-week course where we meet once a week as a team of 12 people. We have private coaching calls in between. We have accountability partners, amazing coaches like Emma Coyne is on our call, and she's our coach from Valencia, Spain. And we have a whole process. So we're just kind of giving you the headlines of it. But if we just pick the bullet points of what we've said so far, is forgive yourself for what you didn't do, and now use that blank space, that clearing, so to speak, to actually create what is possible for this coming year. So you as you look at what's your focus for the year, you start to look at your priorities, and start to rank them in the order of importance. Where does finances fit, and career and relationships, and marriage and kids and family and well-being and health and weight loss, and how does all of that fit into your life? And when you really take a moment to be quiet and listen for what there is, you can start to see what really makes the biggest difference for you. And one of the things that you're going to discover is that list is going to be influenced by whether or not you actually have a sense that you could pull it off or not. In other words, when we talk about setting a goal, there's a sweet spot for setting this goal or outcome that we're about to create. And that is, if it's so small, it doesn't light you up. It doesn't get you out of bed. You'll still hit the snooze button on your alarm as you start to work on it. You may find yourself resisting it. It's not something that gets you so excited you can't believe it. And if it's too big, if it's like just so you have such a sense of like, I can't really do that, but it sounds like it's a good goal to set, or gee, wouldn't that be nice if that turned out that way? That also doesn't get you excited and in action. So the sweet spot is what is big enough to be a stretch for you in life that would be an extraordinary outcome, like an experience of life when it turns out, but you can believe that you can make it happen. And that's a great place to start with what we're talking about. We get into that whole world of having specific measurable results as goals and creating it as an outcome, not because you should do it, but rather that there's this vision that's pulling you forward rather than avoiding something. Like approach, it's almost like you're approaching something from a getting lit up perspective rather than a survival perspective of what's happened in the past. And as you're doing this, one of the things to look at is there's a friend of mine who I've participated in his New Thought speeches and talks, and we've shared the panel many times. And I go to his spiritual center here in Los Angeles. His name is Michael Beckwith, and he was one of the teachers in The Secret. And he says this thing is, ask yourself in a quiet moment, what is the highest vision of my life? What seeks to emerge through me as my life? And then if you actually listen for this almost reverential alertness, the greatest mystery of the universe is about to be whispered in your ear. So don't just roll over with last year's goals. Like, take a moment to create the clean slate and really listen for what is it that's possible for me this coming year. We all know there's a connection between what we're thinking and the results that we create in the world. What you think about comes about. So what we manifest, I want to share with you how to transform how you're thinking so that you can transform the results in your life. So Emma, if you have questions here along the way, feel free to throw them in. And
I'm gonna let Anchor ask a question. Anchor's dialing in from Canada. Welcome, Anchor, and feel free to ask Pat your question.
Thank you, Emma. And Pat, can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. I'm from Canada. It's 5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm really pumped up for this session. Uh, I have a quick question, like what do you basically make a difference between a goal and outcome? How will you define it?
In some circles, people would say it's the same thing. For us, an outcome is much richer because a goal is almost like a report of something that you want to have happen. It doesn't have any flavor to it. It doesn't alter who you're being, like that sense of your deep cellular level of experience of something. So it's a great question, Anchor. I'll use this as a moment to just create what we mean by an outcome. And that is something that has a date, a fate, and a state. Date, fate, state. So you pick a time in the future rather than I have this goal. Well, I could have a goal to, become a millionaire, which may happen 20 years from now, or it could happen this coming year. So you set like, okay, the date is whatever date in the future. And for some smaller goals, it might be January 31st. For some bigger goals, it might be, December 31st of 2024. But you set a date, and that serves a couple of purposes. What you can measure, you can manage. Your mind can get behind something powerfully. And you create that date, and you stand in that date as if it turned out. So it's important that as you're about to say the fate, the goal, some people might call it, is that you're saying it in the past tense because you're training your mind, which, by the way, it believes whatever it is you program it. You're training your mind that it has already turned out. And this is a type of strategic planning that actually goes back to the Harvard Business Review, and some corporations use this. They call it a Merlin plan. Merlin was in King Arthur's time, knew what was going to happen because he lived life backwards, according to a legend. Well, they call it the Merlin plan because it's you stand in the future and then you work your way back of what would have had to happen to lead to that. But the first step is you pick a date. So it is December 31st, 2024. And I have spoken as past tense. What's the result you produced? And then if you can imagine standing in that moment, like that it is all turned out, what would be your experience? Oh, I'd be so relieved. I'd be so happy. I'd be buzzing. I'd be, bouncing off the walls with excitement. I would be, giggly. So I would be so happy. I would be like, what's an emotion that you can resonate with? A state of being would be another way to say it. And then the name of the game, and what I've seen work for, literally tens of thousands of people, and it's made a huge difference in producing results, is you repeat it throughout the course of the year. So you write it down, date, fate, state. It's this date. I have produced this result, and I am, so excited and happy. Every time you read it, if you could start to embody that end result, it's almost like a transformational time machine, that you're experiencing the end result before it has actually happened in linear time. And when you do that, it gives you that much more juice to produce the result that you want to. If you're going to work towards something, if you can already be happy and excited and peaceful and accomplished and powerful and confident, if you can already create that before it's even happened, you are much more likely to be in action to produce that result. But then there's something magical that happens in the universe. And this is where it's beyond my pay grade to understand how this happens, but I've seen it happen over and over and over again. And that is, when you create it this way, the universe starts to align with you. Whether you study the law of attraction, whether you study Joe Dispenza's work around energy, whether you have you pay attention to the Bible and pray as if it's so. It's like it is such an intense belief that it's turning out, that you're speaking it like the past tense. You're allowing yourself to embody that end result, that state. And all of a sudden, you find yourself not only taking actions that you might not have taken, but all of a sudden the universe aligns around what your commitment is. That whole thing of the moment you firmly commit, you definitely commit to something. There's divine providence that happens. There's things that come into place that you would have never expected. So for us, it's date, fate, state. So whatever it is that you're working on, rather than just set another New Year's Eve goal and a resolution for the year, if you can actually take on what would be the most important thing to you and do the work of coming up with date, fate, state, and then actually saying it every day, or in the case of people who are on our 10-week Rubicon, we actually encourage people to say it a few times a day. All of a sudden, miracles happen. Like literally, people have been cured of cancer and kidney disease and written books and found the love of their life. I've had a chance to officiate weddings of people who did the Rubicon to find true love. We've had people who bought businesses, started courses, become foster parents, built a boat, learned a new language, learned an instrument. And it's based on not having this kind of goal that's just words on a paper, but it actually becomes who you experience yourself as with that end result. So Anchor, that was a long answer to your question, but does that help?
It's amazing part. Like I have never seen a concept like this. I have read a lot of books on self-motivation and self-help, but this is something new to me. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's how do I say this? What I'm really good at is taking concepts and put them in a form that people can actually live, and then that makes a difference in their lives. But all this information has been out there for years. I mean, you could look at the Stoic philosophers and they've said versions of this, obviously the Bible, the, law of attraction that's been around for many years now in terms of people understanding what that is with Jerry and Esther Hicks, the work that The Secret did with Michael Beckwith and with others. So it's been out there, but what we've done is found this way to put it into a form that is easy to live, and it makes a huge difference. It's like, if you're listening right now and you're rolling your eyes, I totally get it. But I'm telling you, if you were willing to do this work, you would go from, giving it your best shot, and I'm going to do as well as I can this year, to actually living a life that you love, that you created. And by the way, there's some resistance along the way here, because first of all, you have to now fully commit to a goal. Commitment in itself is a resistance for some people. And then once you fully commit to it, to actually take the daily action of reading it, saying it, embodying the state of being that when it turns out. But if you do that, you have my word that life will not be the same. And I've had the chance to track it, because we've been doing, I was a forum leader for Landmark Worldwide for many years and led the forum around the world. For those of you who might be familiar with that, a 3-day self-development weekend where people would create for themselves the possibility of living a life a certain way, of ways of being. I've had Rubicon around since 2007, and we've I've seen thousands of people. And the reality is after the 10 weeks are up, the people that are most blown away by the miracles they produced were usually the people who were willing to take this on. And then the people who were like, I like some of this other stuff, but I'm not going to bother with that. They were the people that didn't always produce the big result that they wanted to. Everybody always moves their life forward during it, but the big result. So my invitation to you guys is to actually consider, if you walk away with anything from this, is what would be your date, fate, state. Emma, can we ask a few people if they could create something right now? Just that way I could help coach people. So who wants to create a date, fate, state? Yeah, go ahead, Emma. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I've got a volunteer in mind, unless anybody wants to go for it. Anyone want to volunteer?
And I'm curious, what's the resistance to speaking up? Just because you're around some people you don't know, or is it getting clear on what you're willing to create this around? Like, what's there for you in this moment? Because the truth is most of you don't know each other, so you could say anything and you'll probably never see these people again. So I wouldn't worry about.
I'm watching my friend Alison nod. Al, is this resonating with you?
Hello.
Hi, Alison.
Yeah. Hi. The Landmark Forum resonated with me. That's why I was going like that, because I did.
Okay.
And it led me to my Buddhist practice. So that's where I've drawn on my inner strength to achieve. But now I'm at a point where I've changed my career from an accountant to a counsellor, and I need to get some clients now. I've got 6 existing ones, one through a workplace, 2 that have come back to me privately. So I know I'm on the right path, but it's quite a sensitive kind of role. So I need to adapt how I market myself. I'll go to the usual places like the BACP, for example, but I really need, say, 20 clients by the end of February, and then I'll be financially able to pay all my bills.
Got it. So let's just create an outcome around that, and then I want to say something about the actions that it's going to take to make that happen. Because I know many of us on this Zoom know that either through social media or personal emails or telephone calls, that there are potential clients out there that we're not going after, and something stopping us, some sense of resistance. And one of the things that we get into in our courses is that the number one fear for people, when they study subjects, wire their brain response and galvanic skin response and their heart rate and all that, number one fear when they expose people to different fears isn't public speaking or death or spiders or snakes or flying. It's the fear of being rejected. So there's some place where we'll stop taking action because we're concerned people are going to have some sort of a judgment about us. So it's one of the things that Emma is really brilliant on, is helping people take action around that regardless. But let's create an outcome for you with this, Allison. And thank you for, I was going to say volunteering, but you were volunteered. But thank you for thank you for not hanging up and going with it here. So,
not running a mile.
So you said February. So why don't we say it's February 28th? And what's the fate? I have 20 clients.
Yes.
Okay. So pretty simple. It's February 28th. I have 20 clients. Now, can you just stop for a moment and get all of those concerns and worries and doubts and thoughts that you have about what you've done in the past out of the way? And just for a moment, imagine what it's like with you, dealing with 20 clients, having 20 clients, having the money in your bank account from 20 clients. Like what's the experience of it? Like if you had to just give yourself permission to experience what that's going to be like, what would you come up with?
The sense of empowerment for, being able to cover everything that has been up until now very, very volatile. I've gone from a fixed amount of wages every month to a variable, and that depending on how many clients I'll have at any one time. So I'm also in the mindset that now I've chosen to have a variable income. That's
right, but you've got variable income associated with some sort of survival or lack, and what I'm asking you to create, and this is the hard part for everybody, create that it's all turned out, not like I'm surviving, but like what's the best? So you said empowerment. So I am empowered, and what would you be like really at your cellular level when this all happens?
Just so happy because I'm helping 20 people. That's my main drive.
Right.
I'm financially independent.
So it's February 28th. Yeah. I have 20 paid clients and I am empowered and just so happy. And if you wrote that out and said it a few times a day, but when you say it, do your best to actually experience like the sense of your, like being filled up with, you're empowered, you're so happy. Like there's like this sense of peace, this sense of not worrying, this like sense of being able to just make your focus be about your clients and not be worrying about paying the bills. Like if you can really get that sense and start to repeat that, it'll start to inform what actions you need to take, because you're now telling your brain this turned out this way. Okay, so what do I need to do to make that happen? And then all of a sudden you may discover there's places where you're holding back, or you work with Emma, or you do whatever it takes to make that happen. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the real challenge is, because I know all these things as a counselor, but to actually do it myself for myself is like what doesn't happen. But that sense of really embodying that outcome, that feeling of peace and empowerment, that's where the work will be for me, for sure.
Right. Beautiful. Well said. And you said so many great things in that, but and this is for all of us. We often know what there is to do. We're just not doing it. There's some place where we resist, where we hold back. In Rubicon, one of the first weeks we get into, resistance is not a function of being lazy or having terrible time management, although you may have terrible time management, but that resistance is usually a brain function, that when we consider doing something that we consider difficult or could be something that we would find hard or boring or scary, to make that phone call or whatever, when we resist something and then we decide in the moment, okay, I'm not going to do that right now, our brain is like, this is a reward, like ding, 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 ding. I don't have to do the difficult thing right now. So all of a sudden your brain creates this loop where you think of something difficult to do, your brain is going to try to push you towards procrastinating or resisting, because in your short-term aspect of your brain, it shows up as this relief or reward that happens. And all of a sudden you get into a cycle of procrastinating, a cycle of resisting in life. So what we help people do is break that cycle. You're actually taking things from the limbic part of your brain, that part where you're considering things, worried about, doubting, not sure, what if, judging things. And that, it's called limbic, like limbo. It's like life standing still when you're operating out of that part of your brain. And it's actually creating a neural pattern to the front part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, where you take action. And so you start to actually literally rewire your brain, that you're going from worry, doubt, concern, and being stopped to being fully activized, in action, making things happen in life in the front part of your brain. And the more you do that, you discover in our courses, the more you have the ability to actually just get right into action, to be a person who plays full out, that you have what we say is you have a bias toward action versus waiting and contemplating. And that in itself makes a huge difference for people. So, Emma Coyne, yes, I just saw your hand.
I just wanted to ask if I could throw a little nugget in there, Pat.
Please.
What's there for me is that when we have a number, so if it's like 20 clients, or if it's a financial goal or something like that, is that we say 20 or more. Because the universe, we know that, if we're coming from a place of abundance and not scarcity, that 20 might not be your number, that there can be a flow of that. And you get to a point where you don't have to, you can choose then, and you can choose powerfully whether you go beyond 20 clients or you take a few more on, and then you're even more financially independent. So yeah, definitely and that applies for everything.
That's well said.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pat,
go ahead.
You go.
No, I was just going to add to that. I'm one of the teams that Emma and I coached together. Somebody came up with their prayer is this or something better. To not limit the universe, God, from providing for you. So that's just, that's another way to look at that. I'm sorry, Emma, go ahead.
No. That was amazing. Thank you. I did want to touch on something you said about procrastination. So most of you know me quite well on this call, but last year my son will attest to this. I had a huge problem with procrastination. It used to take me maybe like half an hour of my son holding my hand for me to be able to open up an email and reply to an email if I was feeling discomfort. And I really recognize that thing of, I'll just do this tomorrow because it's really hard, and then tomorrow never comes, and then it'll be, yeah, definitely by Friday, and then Friday I'm knackered and it's late. And I've really cracked this thanks to the Rubicon program. And this week I had some inverted commas, less than easy emails to respond to, and I used some of the strategies that Rubicon has taught me, and the freedom and the lightness in my heart in order to look at this task without emotion, to think, yep, that's an email, it requires a response, I'm going to open up my email, this is what I'm going to say, I'm going to press send, was just so huge. And I just wonder whether you could touch a little bit more about fear, because I think in the past for myself, I'm not scared about failing. Actually, I'm scared about how wonderful life could be, right? Sometimes it's scary to think how amazing, how successful, how rich, how this, how that, how hot my new husband will be, all of these amazing things. Actually, I think that's sometimes what we get scared of. And I just wonder whether you could share on the fear of brilliance.
Yeah. I mean, there's fear will stop us for a lot of different reasons, but if you break it down, what's really happening is you live in not you, Emma, but everybody lives in a certain paradigm that they know. And your brain would love to keep you in that same paradigm, because anything outside of that comfort zone shows up as a risk. And all of a sudden, you're not going to be the same person you've known yourself to be. Even if who you've known yourself to be, you're clear. It's not powerful. This isn't great. I'm living this drama in life. It's still comfortable in the sense that it's familiar. So in our courses, we don't say step outside your comfort zone. We say step outside your familiar zone. Almost all magic happens outside of that familiar zone where you're breaking yourself up, you're willing to move beyond it. So the way that we've discovered the kind of two aspects to moving past fear is, one is create a vision that is way more powerful than the fear. Like, you start to downplay the importance of fear in your life. You can have fear and move forward anyway. So what? It's like you start to see that for yourself. Like, your actions don't have to have anything to do with how you feel about it in the moment. What we create is, typically in life, you create something that you're going to produce as a result. And then if the conditions are right, if you feel like it, if circumstances line up, if it's a good day for it, then you'll take the action and produce the result. What we do is we say, listen, create what it is that you want to create, and then just take the action. Don't check in. Do I feel like it? Is it a good day? Am I in the good mood or a bad mood? Have I had my coffee? It's just, you just learn to do it, which pushes you past fear, pushes you past procrastination, whatever it is that might typically stop you. And then you get to experience the good feelings after you've produced that as a result. So that's the first part, is to take action consistent with what you say you're going to do, regardless of the circumstances. You either have your reasons or your results in life. So we're all about producing results. So that's the first part of it. And then the second part of it is you start to get into action and to make things happen, find a way to be held to account. One of the things that is not at first fun for people as part of our Rubicon team is you are surrendering to be held to account. You are not only creating end goals that you're going to create over the course of the 10 weeks, but each week you have a stretch outcome that you create where you create something beyond what you would normally expect to do this coming week. And you're reporting it to the team, like you're announcing it to the team, like, this week I will make this happen. And then the following week, the first thing we start off with, or one of the first things, is completing. Did you do it or not do it? That in itself, that positive peer pressure, that support from the rest of the team, makes a huge difference. We also do something where people have a daily accountability partner text, where you text your partner, I'll get this done today. And then the next day you say, yeah, I did that, or no, I didn't do that. And today I'll do this. That world of you setting your priorities, being a cause in the matter of the life that you're creating versus letting life just happen to you, and then having other people check in on it with you, like not making you wrong, but there to support you and making sure you're right and you make it happen. That combination of things is one of the reasons that people produce real miracles. So I think for you, Emma, you're like such an amazing part of a team, and you're so authentic with people that there's something about that where you can even hear for yourself, like, okay, that's where I would normally stop, but I said I'm going to do this, so I'm going to get it done. So very cool. Who else? Somebody else come up with an outcome of some point in the future, whether it's February or the end of the year or whatever, just because sometimes when you talk it out loud, somebody else can hear it.
I'm looking at my son, who's smiling at me. Go on,
all right. Lewis, do you have something? And then Anchor has his hand up too.
Let me, if Anchor goes first, I'll go after, just so I can think if that's all right.
Oh, sure, no problem. Anchor, so date, fate, state. What would you say?
It's March 31st, 2024. I am now fit, healthy, and have reduced 25 pounds of weight.
So you've lost 25 pounds of weight. Okay, great. And then what's your experience of yourself? I am what?
I am fit, healthy, and feels amazing.
Feel amazing. Perfect. See, if you keep repeating that, those days that you go to eat the extra snack or not work out or whatever, your brain will be like registering this as, what are you doing? Because who you are is somebody who's fit, happy, healthy, excited about life. You've created it powerfully by repeating it several times a day, and that makes a huge difference. And by the way, you did it really well where you said, I am. Sometimes people will say, and I feel happy, or I feel excited, and the word feel is a little bit of a less powerful word than I am. There's a whole world out there that says when you can create I am, it's like literally you're inviting in that way of being. When I feel, like, feelings kind of come and go and they change with, you know, with the weather, or if somebody says something or whatever. But when you say I am, that's like you are excited, confident, powerful, happy, like that. So as you create your outcome, it's date, fate, state, and as you get to the state part, you're actually speaking it as I am, like, not, and I will be, that, you know, no, it's like I am. That makes the biggest difference when you're willing to do that. And, you know, in the beginning, your brain will start to resist saying this. Like the first time you might say it, you might feel like, I don't really believe this. But the more you say it, the more realistic it becomes. And the more you have ability to focus on those thoughts. One of the things that we work with people on in our course is the ability to actually have some dominion over what you're thinking. Because again, what you think about comes about. So you can't do anything about the first thought that pops into your mind. You know, something's going to remind you of something, but you do have some say over subsequent thoughts. And you know it. Like sometimes you'll think this negative thought, or I'm not good enough, or concern about yourself. And then if you go down that mind trail, it takes you into like this place of heaviness and negativity, versus to literally, the moment you have that first thought that's negative, to switch it to something that lifts you up. Whether you create I am mantras for yourself, whether it has to do with songs that you listen to or that you sing out loud in that moment, whether it has to do with, you know, we've had people who've done dance movements in the moment. But the moment you can interrupt that first thought so that on second thought, you're thinking what empowers you, it makes a huge difference for you. So it's, you know, it's based on the study that happened back in the 80s, where they brought a bunch of subjects in and they asked them to talk for 5 minutes about anything you want. However, don't think about a white bear. But if you do think about a white bear, in the moment you think about it, hit this red buzzer here. But otherwise, just talk. But don't think about a white bear. What they discovered is people couldn't even go a minute without thinking about a white bear, no matter how hard they tried, because you can't not think something. So out of that, they discovered that if you want to shift some aspect of your life, it can't be a not thought. You know, they call it ironic process theory. And it's this phenomenon suggesting that when you intentionally try to avoid thinking about a certain thought or certain emotion, there's this paradoxical effect that happens where you actually start to think about the other thing more. Like, is Marcella still on here?
No, she's popped off.
No, she dropped off. Yeah, Marcella was somebody who's part of one of our groups who quit smoking, and she got like, it can't be I'm not smoking, because it just would actually bring that alive more. So I say that as a way of, you know, this is about cleaning up even what you think about, like to literally be responsible for your state at all times. So the moment you start to create your outcome and repeat it several times a day, your brain may want to take you down a negative pathway. You have the power to interrupt that. And you know, obviously it comes with practice, and I'm just touching the surface of it. We get into it much deeper in our course, but that's one of the ways that people produce results. All right, Lewis, have you come up with something?
Yeah, I've had time to think. Thank you. So yeah, as some people know, obviously I've moved a little bit just down the road from Essex, nearby to Birmingham, and I think it would be really beneficial for me to have some like new clients nearby. So what I was thinking was to have 10 or more new clients. And I think that will make me feel like a lot more secure, and then I'll be able to be out more with clients, which is quite nice, just to expand my life socially as well, and just to become more of the community, or become more of a part of the community. Yeah.
Right. So you've known that already, Lewis, but yet there's something that's been in the way of you playing full out. You know,
Yeah.
and so what this is about is to start to create the mindset that's consistent with what you already know or what you know is possible. So if we were doing this as an outcome, what would you create? Date, fate, state. What would it be for you? You want 10, you're committed to creating 10 clients by when?
I'd say by March the 18th, 2024. And then the state would be, I'd be a lot more secure, a lot more involved locally. And yeah, it would just be a nice sense of achievement to be like successful in two different locations, if you know what I mean.
Sure. And I love the way you're doing this because it's going to give everybody a chance to hear this. When we typically operate like we will or wouldn't, like something, if it happens in the future, it takes something to be willing to go, it's March 18th, 2024, and I am part of the community. I have 10 clients. I'm, excited about, the people I interact with. Like, speak it like it's already happened. And then once you do that, what's the state of being? What's going to be your experience? Let's say it's March 18th and you pick up the phone and call your mom and you say, whoa, this crap really works. It's like, I've got 10 clients. What would be like your sense in that moment for yourself?
It'd be a great sense of achievement, and I'd be really motivated to, carry on expanding really and set more outcomes. Yeah. So,
I have I am, I have the sense of achievement. I'm motivated to carry on, all of that. And so if you started saying that as of today, as you start the year, you'll start to, look at, well, what would it take? It's not like all 10 are going to show up the first week of March. Okay, that would mean, like, if I was laying it out, like specific measurable results, then I would, have the first 2 clients by the second week of January, or whatever it is. And so that you can also align with, I'm on track for that. So it's great, rather than just the end goal, to then give it some foundation by laying out for yourself, what would be the structure, that whole thing of what you can measure, you can manage. It's like, start to create specific measurable results along the way that go along with that. My whole life was influenced, I hate to admit this, back when I was in high school, I used to listen to a radio personality here in the United States. His name was Casey Kasem. He did a weekly show called the American Top 40. And he ended every show with, his quote was, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. And so I kind of took that on as a way of life, and then eventually became part of my coaching practice and all that. Like, reach for the stars, come up with the goal that really excites you. But the feet on the ground part is lay out the specific plan to get there, and then follow that plan. And then if you're in a program like Rubicon where you're coached about doing that, whether you're held to account to do that, you're supported in doing that, that makes a difference. But it's like, it's come up with the end goal that lights you up. And then what would be your experience when that happens, and then reminding yourself of that experience along the way as you take action and you lay it out. So Lewis,
Carolyn, I think.
Okay, great. And just so, Lewis, you could do that, right? This isn't like you didn't say, okay, I'm going to have 100 clients and by January 3rd. I mean, that's really doable. And you can make a pact with yourself, and this goes for everybody. Let's make a pact with yourself. You know what? I'm gonna do that this time. I'm gonna try this and see what happens. I'm gonna go for it. And then the way you could hold yourself to account, even if you're not part of a Rubicon team, is start to share it with people. Tell your best friend or your mom, I'm going to get a new client this week, no matter what. And I'll report back if I did it or didn't do it. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to call up my friend and say I didn't do it, or my mom. So you know what do I need to do? And it just is a way to use all of these different aspects of life to get into action around what it is that you're committed to. So, all right. And then who had the question? Carolyn?
Carolyn.
Oh, hi, it's not about me. It's about
Okay.
Lewis. I was just wondering, Lewis, what type of clients or who would do you need in Birmingham? Because my daughter's fiance has lived in Birmingham, studied and worked there for a while. So I was just interested in what I don't know if we can help you, but I was just interested in, who are you looking for? What type of people?
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, it would just be companies in Birmingham looking for website design and development services. So yeah, it might be good for us to chat after, Carolyn. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a chat with him. Yeah, because he might have some ideas. That's all I was thinking. Yeah.
Thank
you,
you, appreciate
Carolyn.
it.
Thank you.
Great.
So we have 5 minutes left. I just wonder whether anybody has any questions they want to kind of pick Pat's brain while we've got him. I'm going to, Pat has very kindly opened his diary for personal calls after that you can book into. But if does anybody have any kind of burning things that they want us to crack on this session? As I say, it's a safe space. So if anybody does want to, please raise your hands and take advantage of us having Pat here.
Yeah, Anchor.
Yeah, Pat, which is the best book which you have read, which you think will you suggest for us?
Wow, that's a great question. As part of our, when people do a 10-week Rubicon, then the next thing is we call an advanced Rubicon, where we always dissect some of the most, powerful, successful books out there around performance. And I don't know if there's any one book. There's the books like Atomic Habits, which most people have heard about, that help you realize that it's the moment by moment habits that make the biggest difference in life, and starting to break down habits. So there's a couple of different books about that have made a difference for people. We've done things that have led more towards tapping into the universe aspect of things, like Michael Singer's book, Untethered Soul, has made a difference. One of the books that kind of covers it all, it's a pretty extensive, is Jack Canfield's book called Success Principles. And it really lays out a lot of the type of work that you all are doing and that we create in Rubicon. So, and then, there's some motivational, entertaining type of stuff like, you are Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass books, which, have been really powerful. Mel Robbins with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 starting rituals is a powerful book. So it's really what speaks to you. The thing that we talk about a lot in Rubicon is we mostly have been trained to read, to remember something that we could repeat back. Like that's what we were trained to do in school. If you read from a perspective of, what's an action I can put in place based on what I just read, that's what seems to make the biggest difference for people. So to get out of the conceptual mode and into the action mode, no new action, no new result. And so we're all about experimenting with taking action around what it is that you read. But that's a great question, Anchor. So let me hear from one or two people. Like, what's your takeaway from this? Is this because it's always useful for me from a research perspective. Like, what are you hearing? Does this sound like kind of gobbledygook, like, oh, that new age crap? Or are you, are you hearing something that you can, regardless if you ever did a Rubicon, you can take away with you? Yeah, Carolyn.
Hi, Pat. Yeah, it's resonating with me. Thank you, Emma, for setting this up. It's been great. What I was thinking is, because I've been reading The 12-Week Year.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember who it's by. It's not Mel Robbins, is it? I'm trying to find the book.
It's
Anyway,
Brian,
it's really interesting.
Brian and Michael, somebody.
Yeah, 12-Week Year, and it's been quite impactful for me because it you basically try and accelerate what you'd plan to do in a year, but in 12 weeks. And the reason I attended this seminar is because you were talking about what happened in 10 weeks. So that resonated with me, and I think what I'm doing now is that I have a little action plan which I'd set up for the 12-week year. So I'm starting my second 12-week year now in December, so it'll run till end of February. But I'm refining it with what you're saying with the date, the fate, the state.
Great.
So I think it, and the actions that I need to take on a weekly and daily basis. So I think it will be more effective.
Great, good for you. That's I love that you're taking that away with this. By the way, for anybody who's on this call, Emma can give you the information, but we do what we call a discovery call, and it's a 45-minute call that's all about discovering what's possible for you, like to create what is your full potential. Like one of the reasons that I've been successful as a coach, I can usually interact with somebody and see where they're operating out of some limiting belief versus operating out of their what would be really possible for them in life. So the call is designed for you to come up with what's really possible, your full potential. And then out of that, sometimes people are interested in Rubicon. So I'll tell you a little bit more information about our 10-week course. But that's not, the purpose of the call is to get you excited about your life. And then if you see Rubicon as an access to make that happen, we talk about, you go further faster with Rubicon. If that's an aspect of it for you, then give you some more information on that. And we typically, if you show up for a webinar like this, we offer a 25% discount, out of your relationship with Emma. So if anybody's interested in it at all, set up a discovery call with me. Nothing to lose. Definitely no sales on the call. Definitely no pressure. You either get really excited about what's possible or not, but mostly people get excited about who they really are in life when you can kind of look beyond those limiting thoughts and beliefs that you have. So I would love to create that with you. And Emma can give you the information, but if you just go to rubiconresultscall.com, it's rubiconresultscall.com. You get access to my calendar and just pick a time, and we'll make that a great experience for you. I promise.
Thank you so much, Pat. I've popped the details actually into the chat, so please do book in, because I know that sometimes it can be a bit daunting talking about your private fears and dreams and all of that in a webinar setting like this. But do chat to Pat. He has certainly helped me achieve more in 10 weeks than I've done in 10 months. And my son will tell you like how often I say, this thing is absolutely incredible, because I was operating, albeit, I'm a busy person. Everyone knows that I've got targets. I'm busy and I'm doing this on the outside, but internally, I knew where I was holding back, and this accountability and support system and just having somebody believe in me has been life-changing. So I really encourage you to book that free session in. Links into the chat. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend an hour with us today at a really busy time, and I cannot wait to see what everyone achieves in 2024. It'll be my absolute personal privilege to watch this magic happen. And I just want to say thank you so much, Pat. It has been a joy. I could listen to you forever.
Thank you for saying that. Last thing is, Emma Coyne, when's our next Rubicon? If somebody's interested in talking about that too, we can tell them our next team.
Our next Rubicon kicks off 2024, 10th of January, starting the new year with a bang.
All right. So if somebody's interested in more information about that, Emma Coyne and I will be co-coaching that team. So we'd love to support you with that. All right. Emma Goode. Well,
thank you.
Both Emmas I love, but Emma Goode, I'll address you. Thank you. I love you. I love your authenticity. I love your commitment to people and wanting to make a difference for people, and your partnership in us making a difference in the world. So thank you. It's going to be an amazing year for all of us. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Pat and Emma, wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.